on the Newman Jets Audio Network. This is the Jetcast, the official podcast of Newman University Athletics, featuring exclusive interviews with coaches, players, administrators, and more. The Jetcast podcast is brought to you by South Central Sealing and Paving, online at SCSEALING.com. Mel Hambledon Ford, Pepsi, Allstate Insurance Agent Mike Light, Eck Agency, Donlinger Construction, Big Corner Creative, Dr. Brennan Lucas and Advanced Orthopedic Associates, Keystone Solid Surfaces, and by Overland Charters, the official transportation provider of Newman University Athletics. Here's the voice of the Newman Jets, Blake Cripps.
The year 2020 has not been kind to sports fans. Now over 5.5 months after the cancellation of the NCAA tournament, normalcy has still not been restored. The coronavirus pandemic continues to grip our community and country, but even as it does, there are sporting reasons to smile about, even if you can't see it through the mask. Major League Baseball has held opening day. The NBA and Stanley Cup playoffs are underway. The WNBA and PGA have resumed. And just this week in New York, major tennis resumed at the U.S. Open. While here closer to home, high schools are gearing up for fall competition. However, the Jets, like Wichita's City League, will not be joining them. On August 14th, the Mid-America Intercollegiate Athletic Association postponed fall sports to 2021. However, as we speak today, winter sports are on as scheduled. The final decision is set to be made 1 month from yesterday on October 1st. I thought that despite the lack of games, you might like to catch up on the latest in NU sports, and to that end, I welcome you to the second season of the Jetcast. This is episode number 15, the official podcast of Newman University Athletics. So those of you returning from last year, a lot of the particulars are going to be the same. We'll still post this on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. NewmanJets.com/podcast. It'll still be available. Spotify, TuneIn, and Apple Podcasts. And as before, we'll post the show earlier in the afternoon if we do have live event coverage here on the network. But there is one added element this year. Those of you on YouTube already see it. This wonderful piece of technology called a camera. We're actually going to be streaming this on YouTube. You can find it on the Newman Athletics YouTube page, or go to NewmanJets.com, hover over the fan zone, and then click on Newman Jets YouTube, and you can watch the show. Now, it may not post exactly the same time as the audio does. YouTube's got to do all of its fancy work to, put the show on and actually get it online, but it'll be close enough. So you'll be able to actually see us, although we'll be wearing masks, and that'll be a little bit different this year, obviously, but we hope that this will bring you a little bit more of a sense of a community with Newman Athletics in this time of isolation and social distancing. So on today's show, we're actually going to be focusing on women's basketball. Hayley Albers, a senior on the team, will join me here in just a moment, and we'll wrap up the show with Newman University Athletic Director Joanna Pryor. But we start today with a man everybody wants to see when he walks into the room. He is the head women's basketball coach for Newman University. The Jets went 11-17 last year, 6-13 in the MIAA. They tied for 10th. They missed going to MIAA Madness on a tiebreaker. What a thrilling end to the season, to 1-point wins in the last 2 weeks of the season to control their own destiny, including a thrilling 66-65 win over number 24 Nebraska Kearney right here at Fugate Gymnasium. The winningest coach in Newman women's basketball history joins me, Darin Spence. Coach, it's great to see you again.
Well, I can't believe we're back at it already.
I know.
Where's the applause machine?
Well, maybe Colin can get on that for next week's show. You always talk about how you're an olding coach and how you have all this experience, and I would never deny you that. What has prepared you for this kind of offseason and all that experience?
Absolutely nothing. It's it's been a strange time really since everybody left last spring, and we've made so much nationally in-house here about the mental health issues of student athletes and students in general. But I quickly brought up the fact, as the olding ball coach, the schedule change for myself, for coaches like myself, and I'm starting my 36th year in college coaching. It was a shock to me. What do I do? Where are our players at? Spring practices were long gone. Summer recruiting was not there. So it was really a challenge for me as well, as I'm sure it was for a lot of coaches, not just the older ones. But it was something that we've not been through, to this magnitude, and something that we had to constantly reevaluate what we were doing. But it gave me a good chance to do just that, evaluate what I've done. I've created this list, and I've asked our players to do it. I made a list of what I suck at. and so that's a long list, too, by the way. And just
same one for this side of the table.
Yeah, and just trying to make a plan to get better and move forward.
So how do you work through the uncertainty? I mean, obviously, as we sit here today, the basketball season starts November 19th. That's the date right now. You've got some exhibitions we're going to talk about here that I'm really excited about. But how do you work through the uncertainty of not knowing whether or not that's actually going to happen? And how have you helped the players work through that uncertainty?
Well, I've told some people that right now we're going to have to develop this ability to laugh a lot, because just when you think something is set, it's going to change on you. We did a summer-long series with our players. We were in constant communication with them. We did some video episodes on leadership, on communication, and we had them broken into 3 groups. And so we would send it to them, and they would share their thoughts. And then we had an entire roster and coaching staff group as well. And so and we did a couple Zooms, but that enabled us to help them stay engaged with each other as well. And I'm sure they did on their own too, but we knew that we have a very impactful senior class this year. We have 6 of them, 4 in their Abby's in her 5th year.
Yep.
Haley, Braxton, Riley, and Maria Saldana are in their 4th year, and Bailey and Brooke are in their 2nd year. And so we knew that group could step in and really kind of lead the way. And they wanted this player-led approach to move forward even more so. And so we're putting a lot on them, on that group. And we're gonna hit and miss on some things, but within the program core values, they're going to kind of lead the way, and so I'm anxious to let them have that ability to do so.
What's been the mood like from the players in reaction to all these changes and this changing social landscape? And there's been a lot of extra stuff that's happened. So many celebrity deaths. Obviously, there's been social justice issues that have come up, and obviously the biggest one is coronavirus that's gripped the entire world. How are they dealing, with being, young women in this era and trying to come to terms with this reality that not many have ever lived through before, probably, and certainly not anybody in mine, or maybe not even in your generation?
Well, from just me looking at them now that we're back in person, on the outside they appear to be okay, but on the inside and what they tell their immediate support group and their family might be something totally different. Mm-hmm. And as we spend more time moving forward together, some issues will probably surface. And I do know that they were quite upset when I told them that NCAA D2 games got cut down from the 28 to the 22, and I got a bunch of bleep bleep messages back. And so but I think in time, they're smart kids, and I've often said I coach people that are way smarter than I am. And we've got future doctors and educators and some really bright people in our program, and so they're able to to sift through it all as they need to, and then we're just here to support them as we can.
Well, we'll be joined by a future doctor here, at least we're expecting her to be. Hayley Albers, senior on this team, will be joining me here next segment. You mentioned the schedule and the cut of games. That's the maximum number of games that you can play, and I believe that the minimum was either drastically reduced or eliminated. Obviously, you made it clear very early on you wanted to play as many games as they'll allow you, but you still have some exhibitions on your schedule that have been added. October 30th in Manhattan against the Wildcats, and then November 5th at Tulsa, 2 Division I games. It's been a while since you've played a Division I exhibition. Are those still on, and what's the status of those?
Yeah, as of right now, since the MIAA has told us we're on as normal, and then they'll revisit it October 1st and see. So, and word I get from the Division I people is September, like the 14th, they're going to come back and revisit it. So, as of now, it's on there. We haven't adjusted. If we get moved back to January, I don't know if those will stay on there. If Division I remains how they are right now, if they don't move back, probably won't play those games just because it won't make much sense to play an exhibition game end of October, early November, and then not again till January. Plus, we probably wouldn't even be able to.
Right. So obviously there's so many different things happening. You know, 2 of the Power 5 conferences are not playing football. The other 3 are going to play full sports, so it's not real uniform right now. So we'll have to see. It may be a situation where maybe one of those games gets played and the other one doesn't, depending on what the conferences decide.
Well, I do know this also, that we have approved our football team to play. So, we're ready to go.
Hey, I would love to broadcast some football, Coach. Let's get back to your team. 11-17 last year. It ended a streak of 3 straight winning seasons. And people, I don't think, realize this. You know, you took over a program that was in the middle of some sanctions. You've only missed the postseason twice in your tenure here at NU. What were the lessons that you learned off of your first year in the MIAA and the jump up in competition, which you anticipated? And obviously, I know that you feel like the team could have definitely had a few more wins, put itself in a better position going into those last 2 weeks to make MIAA madness.
Right. It was an eye-opening experience for everybody, and you know, we've played a number of the MIAA schools in non-conference, but man, is it a huge difference between a November, December non-conference game and a December, January, February conference game where it really means something. You know, road trips were, the fan base. You know, MIAA and women's basketball has led the country like 11, 12 years in a row in attendance, and we experienced that. You know, I think our first game, I can't remember where it was, and the game we should have won, but their band started playing, and you could just see it, and we were like, oh,
seems
shoot.
like that was at Tahlequah against Northeastern State, if I recall correctly.
Northeastern State, right. And it's one of those, probably 4 or 5 of those games that we wish we'd had back, because we let a few of those, probably 5 of them, get away. So from that aspect, it was a little disappointing, but this group of returning players, 10 of them, learned a lot. Coaches, we learned a lot. Heck, we didn't even know what doors to go in some of the arenas.
I remember that.
We're trying to find a door to get into practice the night before, and it was a challenge, and just getting to see everybody's facilities that we hadn't been to is kind of an eye-opening thing. But we got that behind us. We had some big wins last year, and from the 3 previous years where we had things rolling as the only team to beat Lubbock Christian, we had that built in the Heartland to where now we were going to start challenging them, and so to change drastically all of a sudden. But we had lost some really good seniors, the year before.
Oh, yeah.
And so now it's that's behind us. We're looking to this next year in this senior class, and our 4 exciting freshmen come in to give us a boost too.
We'll talk about some of the personnel that you lost. Obviously, we'll recap this on our pregame show before we get started for the season. But talking, just kind of about life in general. I know you're a big golfer. Did you get any extra time to play golf during this kind of more open period here in the spring and summer without recruiting to go do?
No, not at all. Not ever. No. That was one thing that, as I mentioned, the mental health, of myself, not being able to do what I love to do. I couldn't get in a weight room for the longest time. I once used to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and now I look like Popeye. So it's before the spinach, and so. Yeah, it was so what I did, I got all my walks in, and I did play enough golf, and I was able to go take a golf trip outing, with my dad.
Yep, I saw that on Facebook.
So I'm going to do another one of those coming up, but it's, if I didn't find an outlet for myself, if I didn't find an outlet for Coach Crum and Coach Cates, because I sent them home to Tennessee and to New Mexico. I said, get out of here. You saw some of the videos, that we did on Twitter, just to try to occupy our times, but that lasted for like probably 3 weeks, where I was in there coaching the wood statues.
I do remember that.
And not because I had lost my marbles at the time. It was just...
They're already lost.
Yeah, that's true. I was just trying to stay in game shape, so... But yeah, do you think that was the biggest quarantine struggle, just kind of, wrapping your head around the isolation? Yeah, no question. And, and the Newman University community was supportive through it all, and our athletics administration was supportive through it all. And probably the majority of my time was probably being too imposing on our players. The beauty of D2 sometimes can be they get to go home for the summer. Yes. Not like my Division I years where they were there. They get to get away. They get to recharge. And so probably was a little bit different for them as well, being back home surrounded by their families. Probably a little bit too much. But sometimes I'm the last one they want to hear from. Sure. But at this time, to be selfish, it was really more about me missing them, more so than them missing me. And of course, it was, what are you guys doing? Are you working out? Are you doing this? But just trying to keep everybody together, because I know that we have a special group for this 2021 season.
Well, this is something new we did not do on the show last year. I'm calling it Question Chain, and somebody may have already copyrighted this. It's something that I came up with that I thought would be a little bit fun to get to know you and the girls, and we're going to do this for every sport here on the podcast. And so here's how it works. You get to kind of cheat because you're the head coach. You should get some advantage. So you actually know the next women's basketball interview, which is going to be Hayley Albers. She's coming up in just a second. And so I'm going to ask you, what question do you want me to ask Hayley? And then when Hayley gets up, part of the fun is Hayley's not going to know who the next women's basketball player or coach is going to be on, but she's going to be asking a question to me, and I'm going to ask that to the next player we have on. We're going to kind of keep it going around, and whoever gets before you, I'm just letting you know, this is going to come back around. Sure. So you might want to be careful with these questions. It may come back to bite you, but here in the next few minutes, what question do you want me to ask Hayley Albers?
Ask Hayley Albers. Ask Hayley Albers why she is so stubborn. And with that, I mean, she's gone through some ailments and things.
Sure.
She just refuses, even though I've said it's okay to not do as many sprints. Go get on the bike, but she doesn't want to do it. So ask her why she's so stubborn.
We will ask her. How excited are you to see Hayley Albers this year play? Averaged about 6 points per game for you last year. Post player that can step out and hit the outside shot. And as you said, plays very hard, works very hard in practice as well.
When you look up Newman University in the dictionary or Wikipedia, it should have Hayley Albers' picture right there, because she is the poster child for Newman University in work ethic, in academia, in faith, in just everything. And works in admissions. She's done such a great job actually recruiting for us. She gives all the tours to her, and we've got some really good commitments, not just 21 class, but 22 class, and a lot of it's because of her and her knowledge of Newman University. And so, to see her, I don't even want to say the word without knocking on some wood, but in a good, healthy state right now. She's battled through so much. She had the great freshman year, and then it just started. So the sophomore year, junior year was just some struggles along with it. But she's bouncing around and looks better than I've seen her in such a long time. And I used to give her a hard time, but when she played in club basketball, they must have given her like the shorts that I would wear, but they were so big on her. And then she finally gets some normal shorts. I said, "Man, you do have some legs, don't you?" And but she looks good. She's bouncing around. She's such a good leader. not that there's anything wrong with this, but she's a big time nerd, but she's
nothing wrong with that.
But she's that person that when you're looking for a future doctor, you want to go to. I've already told her I'm going to find out where she's going to be, so I'm going to get my prescriptions, through the mail order.
Sure.
From her, but there's not a whole lot that she doesn't do well. She's, she can shoot the three. She can go inside and do some damage there. She's starting to do a lot more just shot faking off the dribble. Defensively, that's, another challenge for us all, but we'll find a way to do that. But she adds so much to our program because she is the one kid, not that we don't have others, but she is that one kid that is the face of this whole program and like I said, school.
Darin Spence is my guest, head women's basketball coach, Newman University. Coach, I know you're excited for the season. I'm praying we get to see you guys play. Thanks so much for the time, and you'll be back.
My pleasure. Yeah, go Jets.
We'll be back with Hayley Albers, a senior from Cheney, Kansas, forward on this women's basketball team, and we continue on the Jetcast. Back to the Jetcast, our first episode of season number 2, and believe it or not, we're getting set for women's basketball with the fall sports cancellations, and there's no better time to talk to what Coach Spence calls the future doctor on the team, Hayley Albers, senior from right here, just down the road in Kansas, Cheney, Kansas, a 6'1" senior forward, 6 points per game, 3 rebounds per game last year. Hayley Albers joins me here on the Jetcast. Hayley, so great to have you back on the show. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Blake.
This summer, obviously, I know all the players look forward to the summer. You've got beach trips, you've got all these activities that are not classroom, related, planned. And not to say that you're not working very hard in the gym, working on your three-pointer. So, Coach Spence and Coach Crum, don't worry about that. But how tough was this, having to put so many of those plans, I'm sure, on hold and not really getting to enjoy your last summer before you start joining the workplace?
It was definitely interesting for sure. I spent a lot of time at home with my family. I think this is the first time that all 6 of us have been at home together for that amount of time.
So that's 3 brothers and sisters?
Yep, I have 2 younger sisters and a younger brother.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So we were all together. We got on each other's nerves quite a bit. We were just all in the house a lot. My dad was home. He wasn't at work. He got kind of got sent home.
Sure.
So, we were all just right on top of each other. So
what was the most difficult part of that?
Our internet crashed a lot. We were all trying to go and do classes at the same time. So, I'd be on a class and my brother's downstairs playing his PlayStation. I'm like, Ethan, get off your game. I need to go to my class. And then my dad was just bored, so he would photobomb everyone's Zoom classes and dance in the background. So.
Well, I can assure you that was the same at my apartment when it was basically just watching Netflix and playing Xbox for a month. We literally couldn't do anything. So I'm sorry that your internet for your class wasn't good. I was probably partially to blame for that as well. Obviously, probably did have some time to get outside. It had to be tough not being able to go to a gym. I'm not sure what the gym situation is like at the Albers household, but how much were you able to work on basketball during that early time in March and April and early May when things were really closed down?
So I actually got to work out quite a bit. For a while, the gym here was still open, so I was able to come back. And then once everything kind of shut down, I spent a lot of time out in the driveway or just parks around town, working out there. And then obviously I could go up and run at like the golf course or around town or up at the football field. The track was still open as long as there weren't too many people, so I could do that as well.
So how was class without actually being in a classroom? You know, that's something that parents, I think, are dealing with right now as they decide, you know, for the younger kids, whether to go to class. You know, I feel like for me, and I mean, you know, like Coach Spence said, you know, you're a nerd, I'm kind of a nerd. I still think that I would be better being, you know, told to go to a classroom. How did you deal with that, you know, not having the option and really being forced to take classes online?
It was definitely interesting. I think physics lab was the most interesting thing.
Oh, yeah, I can't.
Yeah, there was like some simulations.
That seems terrible.
But it made me really appreciate actually being in the classroom, you know, like with the professor and my classmates. But we made it through, so just a new experience for sure.
So Hayley Albers is a senior. She's going to be one of the leaders on this team, a very large senior class. In fact, I think this might be the biggest class in the Coach Spence era at NU. I'm pretty sure. Colin can double check that. I can double check that. I'm pretty sure it is the biggest. So you're getting set to graduate, and from having you on last year, obviously Coach Spence talked you up. You know, we're expecting a doctorate, so don't let us down here in the spring. But I remember the last time we talked, you said you hadn't really narrowed down exactly what part of medicine you wanted to practice. Any closer to figuring out what part of the medical field you want to be a part of?
I'm still not 100% sure. I've been kind of going back and forth between like sports medicine or orthopedics or maybe a pediatric specialty, but I'm not 100% set yet.
And so it's still some time to figure that out. Because I know, you know, unfortunately for you, and I know you've talked about this in the past, just because you graduate does not mean the classes end this spring, do they?
No.
How much are you looking forward to having a different challenge and not having athletics in the way of your classwork, and how much are you almost dreading that, you know, because obviously once you get to graduate school, the books they seem to be a little heavier, don't they? Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting for sure, because I know like when we get those 2 weeks off after season and we're just going to class, I'm so bored. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, literally, I have all this free time. But it'll definitely be a unique challenge. Med school is pretty rigorous, so I'm looking forward to that.
So what's been the biggest challenge for you in terms of the isolation? You mentioned that you were at home, and I did see some of the social media stuff that Newman put out. The Newman Jets women's basketball Facebook page, you can search it on Facebook or also on Twitter. Newman Jets WBB is where the Newman Jets are now on Twitter. How did you try to stay connected with your teammates during that time in the late spring?
So we have a group Snapchat. So
okay.
Yeah, we'd send some pretty funny snaps around just to kind of stay in touch that way. We had our like group like message, and then we had some accountability groups. So each of the upperclassmen was paired with the younger classmen, just to kind of keep everyone on track that way as well. The
senior class, as I mentioned, is really, really big, and it's really varied. You've got a 5-year international player with Abby George. You've got, you know, 3 of you, 4-year players that have come in, 2 of you from Kansas with Braxton, and then, you know, Riley from New Mexico. You've got Maria Saldana, who's been a player coach, going to be a player coach for this year again, who started out as a player, and then obviously the 2 JUCO transfers coming in as well. So it's a very different class, a lot of different people, different stages of their life there. What's that been like for you to kind of all come together and have this large leadership core for this last season?
I think it's been really nice because we all bring something unique to the table. So maybe like an area where I struggle, and then one of the other ones can kind of pick up, you know, where we're lacking. And so it's just been nice to see everyone's different perspectives and how we mesh together to kind of lead the younger ones along.
What's the connection like for you? And not to say that you don't enjoy Bailey and Brooke. I know that you guys all enjoy each other's company, but your connection with Braxton and Riley Maria is a little bit different, being 4-year players here. What's it like hanging out with those girls?
I mean, it's just crazy to see how far we've come. Like, we were all moving in, and it felt like yesterday that we were all getting here on campus for the first time.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy to see, where we started to where we are now and how much, like, growth we've all experienced. So,
how much do you think you're going to miss them after the season in terms of, these lifelong relationships that athletics can bring about for you? I mean, do you feel like you've made 3 lifelong friends there?
Yeah, I think we'll definitely stay in touch for sure. But it'll be weird not like seeing them every day and kind of all of us going our own separate ways. It'll be different for sure.
Who do you think's the most fun and the most serious out of that group?
Oh goodness. Brooke's a character. I say Brooke and Bailey, they can have a good time. All of us can. It really just depends on the situation.
Sure.
I'm pretty serious. Like, I can have fun, but
of course.
I'm pretty serious. Riley's pretty serious. Abby's pretty funny. She just doesn't talk a lot.
Yeah, no,
until you get to know her.
You kind of have to bring the conversation out of her. I know that Coach Klum and Coach Spence are very excited about the freshmen that are coming in. 4 freshmen, 3 from Kansas, the other from Oklahoma, all inside the MIAA footprint. What's it been like to bring them into the program as, we presume they will be 4-year players, and it's a little bit different for you, I'm sure, because you were just a 4-year player who was brought in, and so you kind of get to teach them how the journey starts. What's that been like for you and the other 4-year seniors?
It's been really cool, just knowing, we were in their shoes once, and now we're kind of helping them along. We're really excited for them. They're all great kids, hard workers, so we're expecting big things out of them.
So this is the continuation of the last segment, obviously, question chain. So for those of you who may have missed it, Coach Spence had a question for Hayley, and then Hayley, before you leave, you get to ask the question for the next women's player we have on. Now, you don't know who that's going to be, and actually, I don't know who that's going to be. It may be more fun if I did know who it was going to be, because you could kind of gear the question. But your question from Darin Spence is, why are you so stubborn?
I'm going to give that one to my dad. His whole family is stubborn. Like, if you ever get at an Albers family reunion, good luck trying to, make yourself heard. Like, everyone's talking all the time. We're all just very, very stubborn. My mom tells me all the time, she's like, you get this from your dad. It's all your dad's fault. So I'm going to have to get the credit
on that. Well, and speaking of being stubborn, I don't know if any of you out there are, living here in Kansas, if you're a fan of salty snacks, but you may have heard of Arts and Mary's potato chips, which, if you look on the back, are actually produced right here in Kansas in Cheney, and I believe at one point the Albers name was on it, but that's actually your family makes Arts and Mary's potato chips.
Yes, so it's my dad's first cousins, and they're great. If you haven't tried them, the jalapeno ones, they're the way to go.
They are absolutely the bomb. I take them to parties and they get annihilated. How excited were you when you heard that they were actually going to be coming back?
Oh, we were so excited. Everyone in my family was like, okay, when are they coming out? We need to order 3 boxes.
Maybe you should kind of lean into them. They could be the official potato chip of the Jetcast.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Could we do that? I think Coach Ewing gives an enthusiastic thumbs up for that. Well, you tell them they're doing the Lord's work by bringing those back. Thank God for them. Final question for you. How are you looking on to this season with this, obviously, anticipation? I know you want to play. You want to get out there with your friends. You want to succeed. I know that you're disappointed with how last year ended up in terms of not making the postseason. But, knowing that this is your last season, and with all of the uncertainty surrounding, are you guys going to play? Are you not going to play? How do you keep yourself positive? And what do you think is the right outlook to take as you look forward to this season? And obviously, we're praying that it will happen.
So we just talked about, right now, everything's a go. So I think with everything that happens, it gives us a greater sense of appreciation for what we get to do every day. And we're just taking it one day at a time, looking to get better. Obviously, we learned a lot of things from last season and what we need to work on. So we're working on implementing those things, staying together as a group, all those little things, getting stronger in the weight room just to keep up with the competition. All those things are a focus for this season.
Hayley Albers, senior from Cheney, Kansas, a forward that will be a leader on this Newman Jets women's basketball team. Hayley, thank you so much. Great to have you on.
Thank you, Blake.
We will wrap up the show, the first in season 2, with Athletic Director Joanna Pryor when we come back.
Hi friends, Phil Nightingale, General Manager at Mount Hamilton Ford. Have you been thinking about a new SUV? Right now is a great time to buy a new Ford at the big corner of 119th and West Kellogg. EcoSport, Escape, Edge, Explorer, Expedition. Mount Hamilton Ford is sure to have the right vehicle to fit your size. And you know you can count on us with this great selection to find the right SUV at the best price to fit your budget. Check us out online or in person. Let us make your purchase easy with pickup and delivery right from your home or work. Mount Hamilton Ford, experience the difference.
Hi, I'm Alex Stevenson with South Central Sealing and Paving. We specialize in parking lot maintenance. We do asphalt repair, crack seal, seal coat, slurry seal, concrete repair, striping. Heck, I'll do anything for money. My dignity can be bought. Do property management, trash pickup, snow removal. My kids gotta eat. And hey, if you need any carpet or anything like that, call my dad, Jeff Stevenson, at Harry Street Carpet. You tell him I look better than him on camera, he'll give you a 20% discount. We're South Central Sealing. Let us fill the cracks in your asphalt.
Welcome back to our last segment of our first episode, Season 2 of the Jetcast. Blake Cripps here with Joanna Pryor, and it's been great to be back on campus. Great to be talking with you again, Joanna. And, before we came on here, we've been talking kind of about how all these things are different this year and these unprecedented times that athletic finds itself in. First of all, great to see you again. How is you? How's the family? And kind of how's life right now in this crazy masked 2020 world that we find ourselves in?
Sure. Masked is correct. And that's something that we've all had to try to get used to ourselves, our student athletes. We miss being able to see people's faces. I miss seeing smiles. I never know if people are happy or if they're sad, and it's very hard to tell. But I think we're all adjusting and, making do with what we have. The student athletes look excited to be back on campus. We're excited to have them back on campus because it's been pretty dead this summer.
Well, and we've talked about, these unprecedented times. That's the big T-shirt phrase. Have you been able to kind of wrap your head around this situation that you find yourself in? And it's not just Newman, but MIAA and really all of college athletics about this unknown period that we have ahead.
Sure. It's constantly changing. It's very fluid. Just when we think we have a good plan together, we have to change our plan. And I think when everybody understands that that's what's happening, where if all of a sudden, we have no fall sports, we've got to change that plan. And so, we've been on our toes and ready for anything, and just have to try to stay positive.
Well, and you talk about the fall sports. If you missed it, we kind of introed with this, the MIAA canceling fall sports until spring is the plan as we talk here today. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, there's plenty of time for that to change. But were you surprised, Commissioner Racy was pretty demonstrative that they were going to exhaust every avenue and basically make every effort to play football and all the fall sports. I was surprised at how quickly that decision was made to cancel. Was it a surprise to your department, and what was your reaction when you heard the news?
Sure. I think when you're watching everything that's going on in the world, it's not a huge shock. You want to keep trying to make sure there are opportunities for your fall sports to play, and I think he did a great job exhausting every avenue that we could possibly go down. I think it became very difficult when the NCAA put the testing guidelines in, and that's when, we kind of lost control at that point. And so now...
And that's mainly a cost issue?
Yes, yeah. It's a cost issue, it's a resource issue, and different institutions in different counties, different states don't have the same resources that Newman might have being in Wichita.
Absolutely. October 1st is the next big date in terms of competition. And we've already talked with Hayley Albers and Darin, Spence, and it's interesting being here in September, and we're actually thinking basketball. Not that we're not always thinking basketball at Newman, but they're the next up. Basketball is the next competitions that are set to start on the schedule, and a decision is set to be made by the MIAA October 1st as to the fate of winter sports. There has to be a lot of anticipation going on as you, speaking today, we're 1 month away from that date.
Mm-hmm. Right. So right now, the presidents will be meeting on October 1st to make a decision for basketball. In the meantime, athletic directors will be meeting weekly in the MIAA to discuss what that could look like. With the other conferences postponing all sports until January 1st, that's going to affect the basketball schedule as a whole. So that is going to have to be looked at. I think there's some CDC guidelines that are happening that might help ease some of that testing burden that the NCAA has put on us if they ease up on that.
There's also always difficulty in preparing for just a regular athletic season, but how much more difficult is it preparing for a season that you don't necessarily know when it will happen? Not just that, you don't really know for sure that it's going to happen at this point.
You bet. So spring looks scary.
Yeah, it does. It looks busy.
If everything goes on as it should, and we hope it does, it's going to be a wild spring. But what we want the most is for our student athletes to have that opportunity to play.
Well, and we talk about the logistics right now. We're talking with Joanna Pryor, Newman University Athletic Director. You know, how does that work with logistics in terms of trying to figure out, you know, let's say maybe basketball is postponed to January perhaps, and so you've got, you know, volleyball is going to have to get some court time. Obviously, basketball's got to take priority. You're going to have games, you're going to have practices, and then, you know, I feel bad for poor Colin who's behind the camera, the SID. I don't know how he's going to get all the stories written for all these different sports. You know, have you been able to wrap your mind around, you know, trying to fit a full athletic year into maybe 3 or 4 months?
Well, I think we should focus more on technology and maybe science into duplicating people. That might be our best option at this point. We've thought about it. It gets scary, and then you stop thinking about it. But I think our coaches will pull together and do whatever they can to have a season. And so if that means if a coach doesn't have a game that night, they're at another game working something, helping out, you know, and we don't know what our crowd's going to be able to look like at this point.
Sure.
You know, we'll start working on basketball and wrestling coming up to figure out the capacity and what we can accommodate. And that'll help also determine how much help we need.
President Kathleen Jagger just moving into Newman University, a brand new president. I believe it would only be the second president you've ever worked with as a Newman University administrator. What have the conversations been like between you two about athletics, the role that athletics will have in Newman University as they market themselves broadly, obviously to the Catholic community, but also to students all across Kansas?
Sure. You know, one thing that she brings a benefit is her health background. So she's got a huge background in public health, and that helps with her giving advice on how we should do things, how we should take precautions, and some of the things we need to do to be ready. So that's been a big help. But she is a big supporter of athletics, and she enjoys that. She knows that it brings life to a campus, and is ready for things to get started, but safely, of course.
The Jet Open obviously had to be drastically changed this year. The golf still did go on. Obviously, golf is one of those sports that you can play socially distanced very easily. But obviously, you guys had some big plans for changing up how the pre-event party was going to go. You were going to have it at Fugate Gymnasium for the very first time ever. Then I think make it a little bit more of a family-friendly event so that you bring the kids to. But obviously, all those plans had to be scrapped because of the coronavirus. In your mind, though, how did the Jet Open go for you guys in this challenging year?
You know, I think a lot of people are finding out that this virus is helpful at times, and it's making you think outside the box, making you do things that you never thought of doing. And you know, we've seen online auctions before, and that's what we went to, and it was actually very successful for us and very cost effective. So I feel like we had one of our best Jet Opens that we've had in quite a while. So golf still goes on.
Yes, it does.
It's so awesome. It's very exciting, and we're planning for an alumni golf weekend.
Wow.
In October. So we're still in the very early stages, but October 2nd is what we're looking at, because, you know, thank God for golf.
Absolutely. Well, we may have some more details on that as we move forward here these next couple of weeks. Obviously, fundraising is always a 365-day per-year challenge. not just at Newman, but at any athletic department. And you'll notice up here on the screen, Coach Ealing, the new Associate Athletic Director of External Operations, has been very busy getting a lot of new sponsors, re-signing old sponsors. In this time when you're moving to the MIAA and the level of competition gets so much higher, how much of a challenge has it been to raise money from private donors, businesses in this coronavirus economic uncertainty, especially, in the early spring when we didn't know anything about the virus back in March and April? Things were pretty scary.
We're very thankful to our sponsors, and they are very dedicated individuals and businesses, and we probably had one of our best sponsorship years for the Jet Open so far. So, like I said, extremely thankful that they stuck with us and they believe in us, and things have been good for them. So, some people have benefited and some haven't with this, and those that have been very generous.
I did want to give a quick shout out. Coach Smith and also Mo just got recognized 15 years here with Newman University Athletics. I know you're really excited to have both of them still around.
Oh, you bet. They're lifers. And Mo, obviously, it took over compliance last year,
Sure.
and she's getting the hang of it, and this year's been a lot better, and she's kind of a staple. I mean, people know Mo, and they expect to see her when they come back.
So we played this game earlier in the show, and we're going to continue it here. Question chain. So I'm going to give you a question, and the next athletic director or athletic department representative I have on will have to answer your question. Now, because you're the athletic director, you actually have a bit of a cheat here, because you actually do know that Coach Ealing is going to be the next athletic director to be on the show. So what is one question that you want to hear Coach Ealing answer when I have him on the show next week?
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot here.
I was not prepared for that.
That's all part of the fun. If I told you everything that was going to happen, that wouldn't make it fun for me at all. And I'm supposed to have fun on this show.
So a question, like a quiz type question?
No, I want,
deep,
this is a question that's going to let us get inside the mind of Coach Ealing. We want to learn about Coach Ealing. We want to find out, his inner thoughts, something that's going to give us a better idea of who he is as a person.
Excellent. What I would like for you to ask him is, what is his why? Why does he do what he does?
Okay.
But then ask him that 2 more times after he answers.
2 more times?
Yes.
What's the reason for that?
He's going to tell you, and then you got to get deeper.
Okay. All right. So what is his why? We will find out next week. Final question. There's been a lot of talk about, the reduction in price of tests for coronavirus. Mike Racy from the MIAA just put out a statement, that this new test has been approved, and it's supposed to be less than the cost of a Big Mac, 15 minutes, and you don't have to send it out to a lab. And he said he was really excited about the possibilities that could open up for Newman and MIAA sports to continue with winter sports on time. So my final question to you is, what's your message for student athletes here at Newman who so desperately want to play, get on the field, get on the court, and how much optimism do you have that is going to happen for winter sports in November or December, and obviously for the fall sports and spring sports coming up, which will all be in the spring after the first of the year?
So that's been a huge topic for us, because we want to play. But we have to do a lot of things that we might not want to do in order to get to play. So masking at all times, physical distancing. We don't want them to necessarily social distance, because that's not good for the mental health.
Sure.
So stay connected somehow, but be apart, be masked, do what you're told. We have made some accommodations and practices where we've started with smaller groups, and so they're going to kind of stay in their cohorts for a couple of weeks. We're going to see how that plays out. And then hopefully we can ease up on that, and then they can, venture out a little bit more. But it just takes a lot of self-awareness. It takes some discipline for them to remember to do those things, and just starting new habits.
If you need your own mask, by the way, you can see the brand new Jets logo mask. You can actually get this on the NU Jets online store. Just go to newmanjets.com, hover over Fan Zone, and hit the Jets online store. You can get a Jets logo mask. I think they actually have the NU masks, too, available on there as well. So pick up your own Jet mask today. Joanna, Pryor, Athletic Director, thank you so much. I hope the next time we talk, we don't have to wear these, but if we do, that's okay. It's great to see you. Glad that you and your family are safe.
Thanks, Blake.
And thanks so much for listening to our show, watching. For those of you on YouTube, we're going to be hitting men's basketball next week. Coach R.J. Allen will join me, so we'll see you then. So until next time, Blake Cripps saying, go Jets.